What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Saturday, so time to go over the biggest ADP changes over the last week. I'm going to break down the changes into two groups. ADPs 50 through 100, and then anyone inside the top 50, just so that we're looking at more of an even distribution amongst the top 100. Some weeks I'm going to put in the biggest movers in like the later rounds, but there was really no analysis for that right now. I mean, it's literally just a bunch of rookies because now, well, people know what team these rookies are on, and so a lot of those are the biggest risers. Not really that fun to look at. So in the future, maybe we'll take a look outside the top 100, 150, but I think we had enough players, inside the top 100 to where that's what we're going to look at right now. Also, wanted to do a quick shout out. The rankings and projections are now live. They're up on the site. Soon there's going to be a page just dedicated to projections. So you guys can look at exactly the receptions, rushing attempts, touchdowns, all those types of projections. That's not a page right now, but it's still on the rankings, right? So if you go to your specific 14 team PPR Superflex, the projections are there. They just don't have their own dedicated page yet, but they will. So let's start things off from 50 to 100. So we're going to do the back half first. And the biggest riser, Skyy Moore, up 16 spots into the 7th round. I mentioned last week about how his ADP is probably going to go up this summer. But it's just starting to get warm outside and things are already getting a little bit crazy in my eyes. I mean, I have him ranked as the first pick in the 8th round. Of course, it's going to depend. I'm going to use 12-team leagues for all of this right now. Whenever I say 8th round, 7th round, 10th round, whatever it is, I'm using 12-team leagues, and I'm saying when I say he's ranked first pick in the 8th round, it's 12-team league for my rankings. Obviously, though, adjust in your head. If it's you're in a 10-team league, well, that moves, a little bit in different directions. So, and obviously, 10-team league, that'd be later. So the 8th round of a 12-team league is actually I don't even know exactly what it is, but it's the 9th or 10th round of a 10-team league. But yeah, I have him ranked 8th round, first pick. So going in the 7th round, that's not horrible, right? If he's going there on average, that means it's roughly where I have him going. But I thought this increase would happen in July, August. I didn't think it would happen right now. And when we see things like that happen, sometimes we can say it adjusts a little bit too much because you start seeing right now people are drafting who are in it. Right. Well, we don't really see ADPs coming from ESPN, Yahoo, NFL of casual players. Everyone drafting right now is pretty hardcore at fantasy football. Right. And so when we see ESPN, NFL, Yahoo, those ADPs start to come out, they're going to kind of adjust from what we're seeing right now. And so if Skyy Moore is already starting at that high of an ADP, and then all the casual fans are listening to podcasts and everyone talk up Skyy Moore, he's going to climb even further than that. So any further increase, and I am not on board, but right now, 7th round, I think that's a fine value. Just understand they have a lot of players, a lot of decent talent, no elite players, but they can still spread the ball around. So fine ADP, don't go up any higher. Antonio Gibson, next, down 15 spots into the 5th round. Obviously, this is in response to Brian Robinson being drafted, and then comments that Rivera made about using those two like he used D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. So, I mean, obviously, you see them spend 3rd round pick at running back, make those comments, also have McKissick on the roster. It makes a lot of sense. Why his ADP is going down. I agree with the drop. I think the drop is going to continue happening over the summer. I've not seen very many people excited about him. And when all of the sentiment is negative and my projections still say he should fall even further, he's going to keep going down. So I don't think he fell to a value. I think he's going to keep dropping. Next up, Courtland Sutton, up 11 spots into the 5th round. This is not related to the Jeudy arrest, so I'm going to go over that in a little bit. The news for that is still way too fresh to impact ADP, right? That any change from that's going to happen in the future, but also I'm going to talk about Jeudy in a second. He's not going to get suspended. From the information we know right now, no suspension is coming. So if Jeudy actually drops an ADP, just take advantage of that. But yeah, news is still too fresh. This isn't from that. I really think this is just from people are excited about the Broncos. right? And people are excited about, who could be the top receiver. I mean, I think everyone thinks Jeudy has a slight edge, but no one's going to sit here and say it's 100%, right? Sutton could absolutely be the most valuable pass catcher on this team. And if you have the most valuable pass catcher on a Russell Wilson-led offense, it's dangerous, right? That's a really, really good offense. You want the number one there. We don't know who it's going to be yet. My lean is Jeudy, but it's going to be very close. I think people are just getting excited. It'll be very interesting to see where final ADPs are for everyone. Where does Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon go? Where do people take Albert O, Jeudy, Sutton, Tim Patrick? All of these guys, I'm curious to see where they end up going. I think everyone's going to see a rise in the summer when we start getting reports that, oh, yeah, Wilson's really good. This offense is going to be fantastic. Juju, up 10 spots into the 5th round. So continued trend of seeing Kansas City players increase in ADP. I actually have Juju as one of the worst picks in drafts right now. So obviously I don't like him going up 10 spots. Everyone's excited about Skyy Moore. There are people who are excited about MVS. And now Juju's a 5th round pick. Like, that just feels aggressive. Like, think about what the Kansas City offense did this season, right? Or this offseason, I guess. They signed Juju for like barely any money. And everyone's like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? He's on the team. Like, that's a lot of upside in fantasy. But then they give way more money to MVS. Then they use a 2nd round pick on Skyy Moore. And you want to start taking Juju like even earlier. Like, I get liking him, but for him to pay off 5th round ADP, he's going to need roughly a stat line of like 70 receptions, about 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And he can absolutely hit that. But I think that that's wishful thinking he's going to. I think with all of the talent they have on that roster, again, Hardman, Skyy Moore, they've got Juju, of course, we're talking about here, MVS, but they still have running backs. They still have Travis Kelce, obviously going to lead the team. Like, that's a lot of players. I see them distributing, this volume that's left by Tyreek Hill amongst everyone. And so expecting a 5th round ADP from Juju, it's just aggressive to me. And so I don't think he's a good pick at all. Also, Trey Lance down 9 spots into the 9th round. I don't believe this one's news related. I think there was a clip that came out to where there's like still some ambiguity with who the starting quarterback's going to be for the 49ers. And I expect people to like not want to go all in on Trey Lance until Garoppolo is just off the roster. Like, even if they come out and they say, oh, Lance is our guy, there's no way everyone like fully believes that or thinks, okay, well, maybe Lance is the guy to start the season. Well, what if he plays bad, right? But as soon as Garoppolo's gone, you kind of know they're all in with Lance. So I think until that happens, you might see his ADP kind of begin to go down just a little bit slowly. I don't think it'll be anything crazy, but also I think he was going the 8th round. That was a tad aggressive to begin with, right? I have him as a quarterback 12 right now, roughly a 10th round grade. So I can see his ADP continue to decrease into the 10th round. I don't think it'll get too much later than that just because the rushing upside is so great that if we do think he's going to be the quarterback, he shouldn't be slipping. It's like the 11th or 12th round or anything. But yeah, I just think people are, not fully convinced he'll be the starting quarterback, and that's why we're seeing his ADP slip a little bit. But once Garoppolo's gone, if that ends up happening, he'd still be on the roster come camp, come week 1. But once Garoppolo is gone, you're going to see Trey Lance's ADP go back up to what it was before. So those are ADPs 50 through 100 against risers and fallers. Let's look inside the top 50. And what a week it was for the 4th round. Seen a lot of movement in the 4th round. Players moving from the 3rd to the 4th, the 5th to the 4th, like 4th round. A lot of movement there. We'll start off with the biggest riser. And it's Michael Pittman Jr. He's up 9 spots actually into the early 4th. Although, if you guys were there on our Underdog live stream on Tuesday, it's last Tuesday, kind of caught me off guard when we were looking back at teams. I didn't notice it when it was being drafted. But Pittman went in the late 3rd round, which was a very aggressive pick. And like, it caught me off guard because I think, I don't know, maybe I have his ADP from last season just like in the back of my mind, right? It's something that like, maybe I'm biased towards what his ADP used to be and being like, oh, wow, can you really take him this early? We used to get him at such a great value. Well, then I looked at my projections and yeah, I have him projected 89 receptions, just under 1,100 yards and 7.7 touchdowns, which means he's worth roughly a late third to an early fourth round pick. That's just what he's worth at the wide receiver position, putting up that stat line. So again, maybe I'm biased towards what his ADP used to be, and that's why I'm like, wow, I can't take him that early. But if I'm thinking that, I think everyone's going to think that, right? I mean, his ADP can only get so high because everyone's going to look at it and be like, you can't take Pittman in the second round. No, I don't think it'll get that high. But, there's that barrier in everyone's mind that it's like, oh, I can't take him over these guys. I mean, he was really good last season. He gets a big quarterback upgrade. He's, in like the prime of his career. He's a great talent. Like, it makes sense that his ADP is this high. I didn't think it was going to be this quickly. But yeah, he's a really good pick. And even with this increase, good pick. Marquise Brown up 6 spots into the mid 4th round. I currently do not have this as a good pick in my projections. I understand that Hopkins is suspended for the first 6 weeks. And, I would expect that suspension to hold. I don't think he's going to win the appeal. But obviously, I mean, we can't possibly know that. My lean is that he's going to lose the appeal. But Arizona, like, they do have an ability to spread the ball around a good amount. And there are still some incredible players still available in the mid 4th round for me to take Marquise Brown, who wasn't on the team last season, so we don't know exactly how they're going to use him. I think they'll use him a lot. I think he's a winner from the draft, or from the draft process. But for us to know exactly how he'll be used, we don't. We simply don't know that. And then you think, okay, he'll be really good in those 6 weeks, but Hopkins is still going to return at some point. I would assume that Hopkins would still be the number 1, and so you're paying a mid 4th round ADP for, the second option in the passing offense, which is still fine because it's a good passing offense, but it's not like, Kyler Murray is throwing for 5,500 yards, right? This is not Kansas City, right? I don't see it. One thing I'll say is that my model does say he's a safe pick. So even being a wide receiver changing teams, everything around the situation, my model says it is safe taking Marquise Brown. And we all know, given the type of player he is and being on this offense, he's a very high upside pick. So I understand the increase. A safe pick with a ton of upside, someone you want to target in these rounds. I just personally think it's a little too early for me. So I kind of expect it to drop from where it is now. Jerry Jeudy up next. Did we talk about him? Up 5 spots into the late 4th round. Like I said, this is not news related. That news just came out. And obviously he went up. If it's news related, he's going down, right? But again, not worried about a suspension. He locked his wife's keys and some baby formula in his car in an effort to get his phone back. So if Goodell is suspending people for that, then I don't know what we're doing here, right? That'd be ridiculous. There was no violence involved. There was no claim of violence involved. So he's not going to be suspended, right? Unless something else crazy comes out, completely unrelated, he's going to be fine. Don't worry about this. Again, like I said before, if anything, if people are like, oh, can't draft him, and for this next few days to a week, you can get him at a reduced ADP, do it. He'll be fine. But yeah, I just think that this is related to the Broncos. Everyone wants a piece of the Broncos offense, and he's my pick for the lead in targets. And so that's why his ADP is going up in my eyes. I don't think so his ADP rose into the 4th round. I don't think that's a crazy good value. But I would just say if he's there, there'll be some drafts where he falls, right? So at ADP, I would say it's unlikely I get a ton of him. I would still like to, if you're doing a bunch of underdog drafts, I'd like to get some of him, right? Or you're in multiple leagues. It'd be nice to have one share, but I would prefer that league to be, oh, he slipped into the 5th. I got super lucky and he went in the 6th. At the 4th round, I don't know. I feel like there might be better options in general. I would prefer to get him at a value at that ADP. Next up, Mike Williams, up 5 spots into the mid 4th round. I don't believe this is news related at all. I think people are just realizing how undervalued Williams was. When I did the first round of projections, I think he was the number 1 wide receiver that I saw was undervalued. I had to manually go in and just nerf things, be okay, fewer touchdowns, fewer targets, fewer yards per reception, just everything. I knocked him on everything, and he's still one of the most undervalued wide receivers. Just look at the situation, right? He just got a 3-year extension. He's on, a top 3. I'll say top 5, so I don't get in trouble, but a top 3 really. Offense, a fantastic young quarterback. He's locked into the number 1 role, X receiver. He's got a ton of upside. So yeah, it was kind of ridiculous what his ADP was. And honestly, even at this point, I think he's still undervalued. He's a good wide receiver. He's got the talent to score 12 touchdowns this season. He can get loose deep a few times. He could put together a 1,200-yard, 12-touchdown season and finish as a wide receiver 1. It could absolutely happen. Am I projecting that? No. But even given my average projections, he is coming out at a great value. I expect his ADP to continue to rise. Last wide receiver we'll talk about today, or last player, I guess. A lot of wide receivers. DK Metcalf, down 4 spots into the early 4th round. This was something that I did discuss on the Tuesday live stream, which again, you guys should join. You can ask any question you want. I know you guys put a lot in the comment section. I cannot answer all of them, but I think I answered every single question, or at least like 95% of the questions in the live stream. So if you got questions, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, ask them there. But someone asked about DK Metcalf, and I was like, listen, I have him for a massive share of the Seahawks pass attempts, a massive share of their receiving touchdowns. But they're going to run so few plays, score so few touchdowns, and be so inefficient that he is one of the most overvalued wide receivers right now. I expect this drop to continue, not only into the 4th round, into the 5th round. He could drop even further than that. Now, I will say what's baked into it a little bit is, well, they could just get a new quarterback, right? And they should. I don't think you can enter week 1 with Drew Lock unless you're planning on tanking, which could absolutely be their plan. They could be planning to tank this season and just trying to get, an early pick next year where all the good quarterbacks are. That could be their plan, and it's a fine plan. But if they're trying to win the season, they can't do it with Drew Lock. And so if they enter week 1 with Drew Lock, then you just can't draft Metcalf. You can't draft Lockett. They're being way overvalued right now. Russell Wilson is gone, and this offense I project to be the worst in the NFL this season. I expect the drop to continue. So those are the players who have seen their ADP move the most this last week. I'll be back Monday for Mock Draft Monday, and then I'll go live again Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, like every Tuesday night, to answer any questions you guys have and do a live Underdog draft as well, so you guys can join that too. Also remember, rankings officially live on the site. No more placeholder rankings. These are the real rankings. You can select your league size. So if you're an 8-team league versus a 16-team league, you can select that. And of course, also select your scoring format. You're going to get specific rankings to your league settings. I'm going to be adding both an Underdog upload sheet where you can just like click copy, paste it right into Underdog, and then you're just good to go. You can use my rankings in Underdog. I'm working on that. It'll be up live soon. And then I'm also working on getting the draft grade tool. So if you guys are doing mock drafts, you can see what my grade is. Remember, we don't really love the draft grades given out by other sites. So I built one, but I'm working on just like linking that to the site, and I'm going to make a video on like how to use it. So make sure you have all in to get access to all of that. That, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button, and how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.